Do you hear that? That's the sound of us having another joint discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Joint Discussions. I'm Lauren Wild and I am your co-host. And we are here in the Libra Loft. We've decided to change it from the fort to the Libra Loft.
Libra Loft? That sounds like, the fort sounds very defensive, like
It does.
war and stuff like that. The Libra Loft feels so much more welcoming to me.
Yeah, but I mean, considering that this is where we do go hide from our children to have a moment of silence, the fort also makes sense.
That's true, but then it would be the shittiest fort alive because they still find their way out here. So they're not stopping. This fort ain't stopping shit. What are you sipping on tonight, babe?
I have one of these Breeze. It's like a social tonic, and I've had this one before. It feels kind of like an Old Faithful, you know, like I know what it's going to do every time. It's not my favorite. You know, my favorite is the Zen AF one. I forget who it's by, but this is like my pretty second reliable where I know it's going to hit me in the way I want it to, and it's not going to make me super tired.
Old Faithfuls are very necessary for us in life. What are some of your Old Faithfuls when it comes to like food you'll eat on the road? Because you got to have an Old Faithful there, because if you don't, you become Old Faithful the geyser at a rest stop somewhere, you know?
Yes. And see, I'm pretty well disciplined on things like fast food, unlike you, but I would say...
Whoa, that felt like a little bit of a pot shot right there. Unlike me?
That's like your Speedway. What are those rollers called?
Oh my God, yeah, those little...
Yeah, you are so committed to trying, and every time it goes badly.
Now, to my credit, I will say this. I have not had one of those in a very, very long time because...
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, eventually they do just kind of repeat the same behaviors. That behavior is you eat it, you enjoy it. You're like, oh, that felt really greasy, but you know, that was pretty good. Not 6 hours later, not 8 hours later, usually overnight. It doesn't matter how many hours. If you had it at 10 p.m., it'd still come overnight. If you had it at 8 a.m., you're still not feeling it till overnight. It's like magical how that works.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
No more of those.
Well, that's the first sign of healing is when you stop doing things that you know brings you harm and expecting different results, right?
Exactly. And that's why those corn crunchy things, too, I no longer get those. Okay. So that's me recognizing that.
Okay.
I've got a Cantrip grape soda tonight. I have not had this.
Is it good?
Grape soda flavor yet. Let me take another little
sipperoo. Oh, by the way, my Old Faithful on the road is a York peppermint patty and salt and vinegar kettle chips.
Those are very Old Faithful-ish, but they're also Old Faithfuls at the house, too. You love it when I stock you with York peppermint patties in the refrigerator for those emergency moments.
Yep. And also a Coca-Cola in a can. Mm-hmm. Those are my Old Faithfuls.
And there's a difference between that and a bottle, right?
Big sensory difference. Anyways, tell me about yours.
You know, I like beverages and flavors that you don't necessarily have the same palate for because you say it's disgusting. It tastes like cough syrup.
It is.
I think you would probably say that about this one.
Yeah.
But I like it. It tastes like grape medicine that you would get when as a kid. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, rub your belly. It's grape flavor.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
Anyways, I think we should probably move on from that little aside that we just had.
Yeah, no, I love the banter. It's less heavy and intense than probably some of the stuff we're going to get into in this discussion.
As always, but this is Joint Discussions, so fire one up, crack one open, however many other ways you can consume it that you might consume it, do whatever that is, because the last episode we kind of talked a little bit about some of our children and where they're at, different relationships. But the thing that came up was this church experience.
Yeah. Like James was saying, we have our kids 50% of the time, for those of you guys that might be new. So we live this pendulum lifestyle where it's very intense the weeks that we have them. And then it's like pretty leisurely the weeks we don't.
I wanted to do like dad jokes so bad. Like, yeah, we're not actually intense, you know, but
Oh
stop.
my. Okay. Yeah. No.
We don't have the kids, so no dad jokes this week, right?
Yeah, we're not in tents. We're in a loft. So we have our kids, 50% of the time. And when we have them, it's a lot. We have 6 kids, 5 that are with us full on 50% of the time. They've got big personalities, big needs, and their needs all somehow seem to be different from one another. It's not like there's like a one across the board way to spend quality time with them. They're all different in that way. One of the things that's been developing that James and I have been having our own little joint discussions about that we felt were probably a great place to bring them here was about our kids going to youth group and what that's bringing up for each of us, and how for one person it's like meh and the other it's like terror. So we felt like we should circle back around after another week of our kids. Now, the first time it was 1 kid, and this time it was more than 1 kid. As a matter of fact, 4 out of the 5 wanted to go.
Right,
So
4 out of the
take us
5
into
wanted
it.
to go, but only 2 were allowed.
Yeah, because they ate.
So for those of you who maybe haven't caught episode 5 or didn't catch this part of the story, one of our sons wanted to go to church, but that church specifically was a church that I was priorly a pastor at.
The youth pastor at.
Yeah, the youth pastor at. I mean, where he wanted to go, I was used to being a part of for years.
Yeah.
So yeah, this week we had a second one who wanted to go. And then, they actually all wanted to go. Back in my day, when we did Wednesday nights, the elementary school ages were also involved. Fast forward to today, it's only middle school and up for this particular church on a Wednesday.
Okay.
I took 3 of the 4. One kind of at the last minute decided no. We get there, I drop off the 2 kids. And I roll the window down and say, hey, worker guy, is elementary school here or no? And he was like, nope, no go. So
Did he recognize you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I tried to be as fast about it as possible. I recognized him,
Okay.
but I just kept driving.
Yeah, I want to circle back around to that here in a minute, though. I've got a question about that.
Sure. So yeah, last week it was 1 kid wanting to go to church. Now we had 2.
Well, technically like 3 or 4.
Sure, but the point is that it's kind of spreading a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes to like the dinner conversations that we have and some of the private conversations that we have. Is this okay? I feel like in the last week or so when this has been going on, you've kind of expressed a little bit of a more strong sense of, ooh, I'm not quite sure I'm loving this.
Yeah, I think to be more specific, being like, I don't like this, straight up.
Well, I mean, sure. But why don't you like this?
And this is like, where I assume we're going to be taking probably the rest of our conversation this evening. But my background is I didn't grow up in church. You can always go back to those first couple of episodes to hear our origin stories. I came into Christianity briefly when I was in a youth group age. I was like 12, 13, and it changed my life in a lot of ways. And then I didn't really land into the evangelical church until I was 22 years old. And when I did, I was so impressionable and I got radicalized really quickly and found truly like made my whole identity in Christ, which was like perfect for what I was doing, which was trying to learn how to deprogram myself from being a rebellious individual into essentially training to become a submissive wife.
But there's a key distinction that I hear, even when I hear you say this, that is you were in your 20s and impressionable. And yes, children are also very impressionable, understood. The key distinction to me about impressionable and going all in is that I feel like as a kid, there's only so far they're going to go. As a young adult, there's so many more things that can really get into a deep, dark space faster.
Yeah, see, that's where I push back. And maybe it's because I was a girl and I took to it like so fast. But I found so much of myself in church community and the values that were instilled that it wasn't just like a place to go where I hung out with friends. Like, now, me, I am a spiritual teacher. Like, everything about me is driven through a spiritual lens. So maybe that's different. And maybe the boys really won't actually care.
Do you know, can I just like interject why, what they were most excited about for church?
Please just keep me remind me so that I'm not terrified.
Free fucking candy. Like
And
2 or 3
girlfriend.
pieces of candy and a girlfriend.
Yeah, but one of our kids, when I saw their social media profile, at the very top it says God first.
Which one is that in our numbers?
4.
Oldest. Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh. But like I said, my whole body of work is about breaking free from being brainwashed by evangelical Christianity and cult-like mindsets to become sovereign in your own right. Every day in and out, I'm like discussing this stuff all the time. I'm working with people who were cradle Christians or got radicalized at a young age, and their subconscious and their conscious mind are all so woven into this identity in Christ, which is extremely codependent and performance-based and continues to be upheld by a cult-like experience, that I'm just like in it all day. I feel more concern that they will get pulled into that cult. And then just real talk, I have like another fear, and that is somehow they're going to start to worry about us. Somehow they're going to start to try to evangelize us.
Girl, that's already happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That
already
has definitely
happened.
not happened to me.
That's happened. Like, wait, Dad, you're not a Christian anymore? No, I'm not. Why not? And then I kind of go through and they say, oh, well, you should be a Christian because Christians go to heaven. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. I appreciate that. I note your concern, just like I note your other concerns in life. I don't know. I don't have the same kind of, and I don't work in it every single day like you do. We're only a couple weeks in, and we've got kids that want to go hang out, not at the house. Shoot, do you know how we sold it to the 2 younger kids? Hey, there's a room with a slide in it and an Xbox and PlayStation upstairs.
So
Again,
true.
we didn't sell it. Hey, you're going to learn all about Jesus Christ, and you're going to also learn all about all of the different techniques that we can use to actually get you in. Yeah, video games are not like the gateway drug. Truthfully, as a former youth pastor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Tell me some of that dirt. Like, there's such a marketing strategy here.
I was part of the actual redesign of the space at the place that I worked at last. It was a large facility, and there was a multi-million-dollar renovation. Every little detail was thought of. It's a lot like another religious-based place, Chick-fil-A, okay?
Yeah.
As a former life coach for Chick-fil-A, I got to also see the inner workings of their facilities. And it's incredible the efficiency and the thought that is put into the kitchen design to everything so that there's no wasted movements. But in a church, in a renovation for a children's program, there was not a lot of conversation about where do we place Jesus? Where do we place these different pillars? It's all about how do we get them in? How do we keep their attention? And how do we have a flow so that we keep their eyeballs for as long as possible, which we know is really freaking hard these days. Post-COVID, all these screens, everything. You have these very well thought out architectural things that really just scream playground. I don't know what the adult equivalent would be. I don't think it's the same thing as a coffee shop. It is in some ways like having that coffee shop, having a merch store, having these different things that churches do are ways to bring
Create
you
culture.
in, to create community, to bring you in to something that feels bigger. I just think right now our kids just want to play video games and eat candy.
Yeah.
They couldn't even recount what the message was. They don't remember any of that. I asked them and they have no recollection of what it actually is. I just don't think our kids have a very deep faith at the moment.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there at all. We both as ex-pastors know that there is a marketing ploy behind all of the things. There's always some deeper thing that is meant to create relationships or security so that you trust people at their word when they're in leadership. My church leadership experience was more in the young adult and the adult world. I just remember how much of a production the whole thing was. Everything was wired, to keep people consuming content essentially so that they would keep coming back and coming back. A lot of this is my projection from being in the world that I work in, but it still gives me the ick, babe. It gives me the ick. I want to circle back around like I said I would when you were dropping them off. And did he recognize you? And did you recognize him? How did that feel when you know that you were the one that left? Like, recount some of those things for me. We were talking earlier about how it's September and you're looking at a bit of an anniversary. Like, walk me through that for us to all hear, me included. I want to hear these reflections.
It's pretty interesting reflecting back. And so you mentioned September and that it's kind of an anniversary. Doing some reflection this month and realized that this will be the 5th full year of my deconstruction or walk away from faith. Mm-hmm. And I was reflecting on where I was on day 1, day 0, the D-Day of my deconstruction, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
To where I am now 5 years later. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of things that have kind of shifted. You asked me how I felt when I saw that person. What did it feel like being the person that left there? I see so many people in the community from this place. Mm. It was such a big place and the city's not all that big. Mm-hmm. And so you run into a lot of folks. I mean, I see people every day in the kid pickup line. I see people when I go grocery shopping. I see them everywhere. Everywhere is almost a walking reminder of some of those days. But as I was doing some of that reflection, one of the points that I wanted to tie in with this conversation about our children and their faith is that I recognized eventually I needed to accept and actually encourage my children to explore faith of their own. And that's a really tricky thing to say as someone who wants no part of it. And truthfully, if I'm peeling away every single layer to just like the truth serum, I have no desire for my children to be involved in any kind of religion at all. Mm. However, I have kind of got to hold my tongue a lot because I need them to have their own journey. Mm-hmm. I think we talked maybe a little bit about it. I think it was maybe last episode or so. I talked a little bit about the movie Inception, about an idea that they plant into somebody's head. And I need our kids to have their own idea of what religion is. And I don't want to skew that for them truly too much at this age. They need to be able to have that. And I need to keep my experiences and traumas separate for the time being. Mm. I don't want to cloud or miscolor their experiences with my own traumas. Mm-hmm. It's really easy for me to maybe want to ask leading questions about their time there in order to plant some of these concepts of experiences that I had. I don't want to do that. And from day 1 when I left, I would have never thought religion would have been a part of my household ever again. Mm. So that's just one of the reflections that I had when it came to this deconstruction and to this church and to this community that we are still so rooted in. Mm-hmm. I have such a history with a lot of the community places here.
Oh, can I ask you a question really quick?
You can ask me 100 questions.
Do you, in your mind, have a difference between religion, organized religion and spirituality?
This feels like a trap question because you are begging to prove that I'm agnostic and not atheist.
No, I'm not. I'm just going to sit and wait over a very long period of time for you to arrive at what I've known all along.
And then you're going to say, I told you so.
No, I won't. I won't this time.
You'll lord it over me.
No, I won't. You'll know, and that'll be enough. I guess
that goes to a bigger question that I think we've had internally when you say the spiritual realm and nature. Mm-hmm. Animism. Yeah. I feel more attuned to nature. Mm-hmm. than I do a spirit.
Yeah.
You're going to have to re-ask that question because
Do you see a difference between religion and spirituality?
Organized religion and spirituality, for sure.
Like a difference?
For sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I really agree with you that I do not, if I could have my way, want our kids to be involved in organized religion. I would love for them to have some sort of connection to something bigger than themselves, whether they can name it or not, that gives them a sense of purpose and hope, especially in times like this. That's where I land, where it's like, as long as it's something that doesn't box them in and force them to try to be perfect or change, or force other people to be perfect and change, and it provides a sense of like hope or something bigger, I'm so cool with that. But that's what I wanted to know for you, is if there was a difference. And so that was my big question about that. Tell me more, because I know that you've had quite a few reflections that you've been sharing in the inside of our home that I feel like are really powerful for other listeners that have deconstructed or might be in the midst of that change.
Yeah, I want to touch back on a little bit what you just said when it came down to organized religion versus like a spirituality thing. On day one of my deconstruction, or maybe the day before, I guess if you want to be technical about it, I went from having like a deity that ruled and governed the principles and morals of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, now where I'm at year 5, is that I feel like I'm so much more in sync with my body and my mind and the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's allowed me to go really from like maybe deflecting my own issues with narratives that fit some sort of like biblical tone to being one of where I am able to look in the mirror.
Mm.
And I'm in sync with my body. I'm in sync with my mind. That doesn't mean that we don't have the depressions, the anxieties, the things, but I'm in tune. I feel like I'm in tune with myself and what's going on around me. I'm not prescribing it to some sort of like, oh, well, this is what the Bible said was going to happen if you didn't do this or you didn't do that. A lot of times I'm just now like, are we treating this with the respect and the attention that it deserves, or is something not happening simply because I didn't actually work hard enough for it? I didn't actually do the things that were required to actually find success. I think about it like this. I'm football coaching, as you obviously know, for a few of our sons. And we just have only had a few games this season. And we get very limited practice time, like so limited. And so you have to try to teach these concepts to elementary school kids of football. Now, they all play Madden. They're all like probably at recess playing tackle football and stuff like that. When it comes to executing plays, you get limited practice. We just got the ever-living shit kicked out of us a few weeks ago. We just had no flow. We had nothing. It was really bad. But what it was is it was an issue of preparedness for us. That's why we got our ass kicked. It had nothing to do with God. It had everything to do with the fact that when the team got on the field, we were unable to do things that were required to score points. And that's tricky. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing in my life now. James, you have this problem, or you're having this issue right now. It's not, well, yeah, in the Bible, in this book, in this chapter, in this verse, it says that people who are persecuted, blah, blah, blah. No. It's about, what am I doing right now? How am I handling this? How am I working and striving to achieve the result that I want, but also take ownership for it? And there's just so much deflection in Christianity. It fucking infuriates me.
The thing about organized religion, especially Abrahamic faiths, and even more specific evangelical Christianity, is that they have found the perfect scapegoat. And that is this concept of a devil, that God favors those that follow his blank, 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 and gets up and studies and fasts and prays. And so there's this very real paradox and hypocrisy that is woven into Christianity that really struggles with understanding the polarity of It's more structural masculine traits, things like we have a Bible and we do these things without clearly acknowledging the divine feminine aspect of Christianity, which is the Holy Spirit, the Shekinah, the Sophia. And so because they, it's such a patriarchal Abrahamic faith, it wrestles with its own ability to find balance. That's why so many people don't know how to take accountability. They don't know how to look at themselves because they have the perfect scapegoat to be like, well, the devil made me do it. Being with you and watching you and loving you, I will definitely say that one of the things that I see in you, I never got to see you as a devout Christian, so I can't, say that, but I see you taking issues and reflecting on them. Like that is something that is so consistent about you. It's one of the things that, first of all, made me be so committed and fall in love with you. But secondly, because you are attuned, you have emotional intelligence. You don't just take something and just outright get defensive. You have the ability to take content and search within yourself to see if that feels true or not. Church does not teach you to do that. So the fact that you were able to learn how to find that within yourself is so powerful to me.
Part of that, I think, has also been one of my kind of final reflections, and that was that from day one, I was still so personally rageful of the things that the church had done to me and to everyone else, but really me. Like we're talking about day one, probably for at least a year or two. I mean, every day I drive past that place, I'm flipping up both birds. I'm saying, fuck you, all the different things because I was just so rageful about how I was slighted, how I was treated. Year 5 now, I feel like I've actually kind of, in a sense, I'll use the word forgiven, but I've accepted and forgiven those things that have happened without taking blame away from the parties that did it, but also not allowing it to affect me on a personal level.
And that's growth.
And instead, in year 5, I'm choosing to be rageful and infuriated at the bigger issues of the church.
Yeah.
The bigger transgressions against the masses of people. And something that I'm all too familiar with seeing behind the scenes so often. Earlier in the episode, you mentioned, how you were part of this planning with the older ages. And I got to sit in some of those very same planning meetings when it came to certain sermon series I might be a part of or something. And it is scripted. Did you hear that at home? I mean, I'm sure you did if you're listening to us, but like that shit is scripted to the seconds.
Yeah.
In our case, probably the same way as your case, but like from the top of the hour, say 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whenever church started, even those 5 minutes before, you have literally everything to the second. There is a countdown timer in the back of the sanctuary so you can see how much time you have left for that particular segment. They're in your headset telling you the same thing, they're in your ears. Everything is planned and scripted to get you to this moment where you are the most susceptible and open to a call to action.
Yep.
All from the very get-go. They want to disarm you with the charm, with the free gifts, with all of those things. Then they want to get you really opened up spiritually with music that is very community driven, that feels powerful. And I cannot deny that shit.
It is powerful.
You get people in a room singing the same song, whether it's Christian or not. It is fucking powerful and real and raw. And you see it in concerts, 20,000 Swifties, or to be honest, it's probably like 50,000, but it is like this whole thing. They plan all these things out so that way when the message comes, there's this like, okay, my spirit's open. I'm really open to these words. And then there's that call to action at the end of the sermon, which is telling you to do this thing. There's this tug in your heart that you have. All of that shit's planned. Everything's planned. And those conversations are like, how can we get these folks to realize that? Now the church is going to say shit like, well, we do the call to action so that we can help people find their next step. Bullshit.
It's all emotional manipulation.
Absolutely, but it's emotional manipulation en route to financial manipulation.
1,000,000%.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on a whole rant about how churches should not be 501c3s because they are 100% a business, but we will not go into that today. Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're talking about like the rage and stuff, so I've been deconstructed since March of 2025, 10 years.
Okay, so you got twice as much time. What is some things then? I'm curious. What are some things maybe at 5 years, so that way I can relate it to myself, that you like found from day one to year 5? And then what about has the next 5 years really looked like for you?
Yeah, I think that the very beginning was a lot of rage. I mean, you can even look at my early body of work. I'm the church witch. You know, everything was about primal rage and reclamation and Black Moon Lilith, like dark feminine energy. And I have still absolute love and association with all of those things. My work is paradoxical and holds the full expression of dark and light. So I have no, like, I'm not like away from that. I don't look back on that and be like, oh my God, I can't believe. Not at all. I still love and embody all of that work. But I think that the biggest distinction is that I can hold it all without judgment towards myself in a way that feels grounded and centered, in a way that I literally could not perceive even at 5 years.
When you say judgment against yourself,
Yeah.
that's so huge. That's so huge. It's something that I think about myself. And I'll let you get back to like some of the other lessons you've learned. But that judgment against yourself, because I think about all the time the role that I played in the machine. This is very similar to other traumas I have from the military, my military days, in my part of the kill chain. I think about it in the same way of the church, the kill chain. Like I was a part of something that was manipulative, was trying to extract resources both financially, spiritually, and emotionally from people under the guise of helping them. And there's a lot of shame that comes attached with that. But over the years, I think I'm starting to get closer to where you're at, because I no longer am holding those personal things. And I'm now looking at how shameful the current people who haven't seen the light, people who haven't seen the transgressions that they've done.
Waco, Waco, sleeper, right? The sleeping ones.
Which includes all of you folks out there who are, you know, all of your friends out there, all the people out there who are in the current circles of things. Like those folks, if they're not saying anything on your social media feeds, it's the same thing as being on the same side of it.
Yeah, fence riders, you know, like the ones that don't take any action are in a lot of ways still contributing to the side that is causing violence and harm.
And church people love to be fence riders. I had made a social media post not long ago about some things, and somebody who I know is a churchgoer commented and said, hey, you know, we should just be spreading peace and like, let's not talk about this because this should be a space of like love and joy.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you speaking out and trying to silence even the people talking about that is part of the problem too. You can't do that. And church people as a whole, in my opinion, love to do that shit.
Being dismissive and encouraging peace and silence is one of the main ways that white supremacy is continually upheld. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about that literally all day. Maybe we will in an upcoming podcast. But one of the things that you just brought up, like triggered a thought, and that is 5 years in, I still wanted to like go after people. I still would see stuff on social media, Facebook, etc., and like actually take the time to like put together a whole thing about how this person is a coward or it's bullshit or whatever, you know. And now I'm just like, that's not my fucking person. Like that's not my problem. I'm going to focus solely on my people that hear my voice and feel that call.
So I feel like that's kind of like where sometimes people want to like fire off a reply when they see a status or something happens and they just will fire it off, speak, and just like not think through things.
Yeah.
Where I've started to get to when I start getting welled up about an issue that I might see, I usually get about maybe a sentence or two in, and then I'm like, wait a second.
Oh, yeah.
Do I need to go after this? Is it worth being enraged about, or should I use that energy in a different way?
Yeah.
And that's a really important quality to have after deconstructing of anything, whether it be religion or, I know it's really generally speaking about a religious thing, but you can deconstruct experiences all over life and that you've had, and taking away some of that personality to it, the personal experience to it, allows us to grow in other ways. And that's really important, because holding on to something means that you can't hold on to something else. We only have so many hands. Here I am, like, getting all preacher sermon-y illustration here, right?
Baby, you got a pastor spirit in you, and I say that to you all the time. You can take the pastor out of the church, but you can't take the pastor out of the person.
Pastor, motivational speaker, coach,
priestess,
life coach. There's so many things, and I actually accept that. Thank
Leadership.
you. I accept that. I don't feel shame in being a pastor for that. It really shaped me in understanding how to communicate to people.
Yeah.
And I'll be forever thankful on how to not manipulate, but how to hit certain emotional chords to open up somebody to even be receptive to whatever it is you're talking about. It's the same thing in sports. That exact analogy I just gave, I could say, okay, well, if I'm coaching one of my football kids, we have, this route that they need to run, and he runs it wrong. And I yell at him, or I'm like, I take a different approach. Well, that might have worked for one of the kids, but you got to learn the kid. Yeah.
And there's a difference between emotional attunement and care and emotional manipulation and gaslighting and being dismissive and scapegoating. There's real characterization differences there. But just to kind of like wrap up some of my reflections, I think that the biggest thing between D-Day, which is day 0, which was spring, it was Easter in 2025.
2015.
Sorry, 2015. Yep. I had just come back from what I called a vision quest and spent 3 days fasting in the woods because I had gone months without what I called the voice of God at that time. And so I did something really radical, and that was to go in the woods by myself for 3 days and fast and seek God's favor, word, etc. And
you're pretty fucking badass, babe. I just want to call this out right now.
Thank you, honey.
And I hope for everybody listening, she's fucking badass.
Thank you. But the thing is that what's funny about that is that those 3 days in the woods was the absolute crux of my deconstruction. I came out of those woods so clear that I, on an internal level, something changed in me so much, and I was never the same again. It did not make me a Christian, but I did start to hear the voice of spirit again. But it sounded like a woman. And that's a whole thing. In those early stages, I had a lot of rage. I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of contrast because I was suffering. I was unaware of the fact that my suffering had become the center point of my message, which was to storytell my suffering. And from that story, it helped build the base of my business. I'm very clear with people now that being able to make sure that I'm asking for consent all the time. It's why the backbone of my work is sovereignty, is because you can get people into very vulnerable spaces where you could emotionally manipulate them, but you have to break the spell and be like, is that what you want? Right? And let them decide for themselves. At year 5, I was still really struggling with this idea that I had to settle on something. I work with lots of different myths and archetypes and goddesses, and I really still felt this, which I now know is internalized, Christianity still, trying to make me pick one. Now, I think that the biggest thing is that I don't feel like for my path, that I really have to push or pull to have some sense of what is real for me. Like, as long as it makes sense in my body and my mind, and I allow myself to take time to digest and integrate, like, I can kind of sit with most anything, both joy and suffering, and recognize what's for me and what's not. That would be one of the kind of places that I would definitely say 5 years ago I was not in. I was still very much in that contrast of like, are you on that side or that side? And listen, I'm still like that, especially politically. I have my own challenges around that. But for the most part, I feel a sense of peace that I have never known. And I think that came in around year 8 with my spirituality, not necessarily my emotions, but again, another conversation.
Bringing it back to our kids going to church as we truly tie a bow on this episode and the lessons that we've learned through deconstruction, I stand firm. I'm cool with what they're doing. I'm cool if they want to go. I'm cool if they want to find something. I want to make sure that I ultimately always do it by leaving out my experiences or not weighing them equally to their experiences.
Yeah, I think that this is a great segue into our next episode. And that is, like, in my body, in my system, I am still very insecure and uncomfortable with the whole thing. However, the difference is that I trust you, that I trust your leadership, and I trust your decision. And that is where I'm going to go. Historically, because I've not been with men that I trust to lead me anywhere, I would fight. And so, like, one of the big things is like allowing you to kind of play that masculine role that I have longed for, to have, you know, an actual partner, an equal that I trust to take leadership.
Yeah, and that's kind of the modern role that I think Christianity maybe aspired to at its best, like in its best sense. That not the male head of a spiritual household.
Oh, the umbrella. Yeah.
I'm talking more so the trust that a partner has in one another and the mutual respect that both have. And so there's a lot of trad wife that like comes out of what you just said.
Yep.
But that's because of our experiences. But it doesn't mean that it is associated only with Christianity and religious circles that a feminine and a masculine, they want different things. And some of those things might fall into a traditional sense, but that doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. I can't wait to crack into that in our next episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this past episode with James and I. We're so excited to have you back for our next one, where we talk about breaking down traditional gender roles, things like trad wife, trad husband, etc., as we move through what it looks like to deconstruct those roles and face internalized misogyny within our own selves that's been, you know, passed down through many lines and many cultures. And we're so excited to be able to have you guys as we get into that deep discussion.
Don't forget to check us out on our social media at Joint Discussions Pod. That's on YouTube, that's on Spotify.
Also, super excited to share that we now officially have a Patreon for our podcast. So all you got to do is go to Patreon/Joint Discussions Pod. Like I said, you can find us under that name literally anywhere on any social, and you can join as a free member in general and just get into our community. And then you'll see other tiers there should you want to get involved in a more intentional way. Either way, we're so excited to have you for our next episode, and we'll see you there.